In Sports Talk Radio. Get ready for Chase Robinson.
He has got to be a player they can rely on in big situations.
And Gerhard Mathangani.
Has the trust of his team. Sounds like the makeup of his team is in a really good space, and I believe that's because of the culture he's curated down there.
For WKXX Live, these guys have you covered from preps to pros and everything in between. Now, let's go inside the Fox Sports 102.9 studio with Chase and Gerhard for WKXX Live.
Happy Friday. Welcome in. It is WKXX Live. Chase Robinson, Gerhard Mathangani here with you. Hope you're having a great day so far. And yes, it is Friday. It is almost the weekend. And as we look forward to every weekend, football and baseball this weekend, I guess. Got some postseason baseball.
Yep.
We got. We'll get to that. But hey, it's Friday. Means high school football tonight, college football tomorrow, NFL Sunday, and we're gonna spend the next 60 minutes talking about all of those and then some. So excited to be with you today. And you look at where we are in high school football, heading into week 7. It's flown by. And here we are, very crucial time as far as region play.
Most certainly. And excuse me, we have a situation in high school football right now where the playoff picture is starting to take form, and we have some big region games coming your way next week, which I think will start to set the seeding for the playoffs. I think we're starting to get a pretty good thought of who is the 4 teams that will be represented in each region, and then now it's trying to seed those teams. And then, of course, taking it to the next level as we look ahead to playoff matchups. So, yeah, this is a really, really big week. These next 2 weeks, actually really big weeks as far as all that's concerned.
Yeah, and so we're going to spend some time talking some high school football here to start things off. And we'll get into baseball as Mark Everett Kelly will join us, talk some baseball with us. And, of course, we'll have our NFL picks later on, and have to see how we did last week. We'll talk some college football as well, go around the SEC, get you ready for the games tomorrow. But a couple of scores last night in high school football, Gerhard. Donahoe with a big win over Talladega County Central, 48-14, and that's a good win for Coach Satcher and the Falcons. They're trying to make a run, try to get a spot in the playoffs. They needed that win last night.
They most certainly did, and it's one of the games that they had senior night last night over there at Donahoe, and they want to obviously be playing really well as they roll into the what they hope is a solid playoff run for themselves now on a nice little 3-game winning streak. They're now 3-2 in the region, and obviously some things still left out in front of them, some big games left out in front of them with both Spring Garden and Cedar Bluff still to come. But yeah, nice winner there for the Falcons.
Another huge score last night. This was very surprising. Plainview beat Sylvania last night 33-30. And I've not seen that game. I'll be watching the film of that one this week as Oaks Bluff plays Sylvania next week. But, of course, Oaks Bluff defeated Plainview last week. Plainview went into the game last night 1-4 on the year and defeated Sylvania, who had only lost one game going into that one. So big upset there by Plainview.
Most certainly. And Sylvania was playing really well going into that matchup. Got a 42-7 win over Glencoe the week before. Looked to be they were sitting right there in position for that number 2 spot there in Class 3A Region 6, right behind Piedmont. But, you had Geraldine in there with 1 loss. You have Oaks Bluff in there with 1 loss, as well as Sylvania up until last night. And so great job there by Coach Dale Brewitt. And the Bears being able to bounce back after losing to Oaks Bluff last week and picking up a big win against Sylvania.
Yeah, so those are some notable local scores. As far as statewide games last night, Valley Head got a win over Appalachian 34-28. And Valley Head's one of those teams that, you got to watch out for there is, sit at number 5 in the state. They could make a little run there.
I think that's one of the surprise teams in Class 1A football, and all of Class 1A football has been Valley Head, and they can just continue to impress. And once again, looking to claim a region championship, got one step closer with that win over Appalachian, and Valley Head looking really solid at a good time of year, getting that nice win over Appalachian.
Thompson got a huge win over Oak Mountain last night, 51-0. Thompson. As we've talked about a couple of times, they have eased their way up to number 2 in Class 7A. They've got 2 losses, both out of the state of Alabama, but they continue to dominate in Class 7A here in Alabama.
They most certainly are. And, obviously we've talked about them on several occasions just because they're kind of the marquee program, winning 3 straight 7A state championships. And it's a situation this year where it looks like there can be some contenders, but, they're right back into it. Oak Mountain was a team that a couple years ago, they were second round of the playoffs and they were making some noise. Lost their coach, had a new coach, and so some changes over there in the Oak Mountain area. But once again, the Thompson Warriors looking like the Thompson Warriors. They scored another big win yesterday, and just like what we talked about with Valley Head and Appalachian, Valley Head still undefeated there in region play and knocked off Appalachian, who was also undefeated in region play. And Thompson also stays undefeated, not only in region play but against Alabama competition.
Gordo got a win over Fayette County 35-9. This was a top 10 matchup. And this is actually, they are the region that 3A Region 6 matches up with, first round of the playoffs. Gordo sits there at the top of that region. So whoever finishes 4th in 3A Region 6, which we talk a lot about because it's all local teams, is going to have to make that trip over to Gordo.
That's right. It's a very impressive game here by Gordo. This was the HSA TV Network Game of the Week yesterday, and you thought going into it, this is going to be a nice matchup. Gordo, obviously, with a new coach in Ryan Lawley, moving on, but now 7-1 on the season, 5-0 in region play. Basically, they locked up the region championship with that win yesterday. Obviously, some things can still go down towards the end of the year, but they control their own destiny as of right now. Knocked off the only other undefeated team in the region in Fayette County. And so a big game yesterday, top 10 matchup. And I wasn't necessarily surprised that Gordo won, but the fact that they shut out a really good Fayette County team shows you a lot about this Gordo team.
Yeah, and Westminster Christian also got a win last night, 70-42 over Madison County. And we got some great games in Northeast Alabama coming up tonight. Any that intrigue you going into tonight?
It's actually one of the games that I'll be at, one of the 2 games that I'll hit tonight. It's the Leeds-Alexandria game. Leeds comes into this one undefeated. Alexandria is always a really, really tough place to play. Alexandria can play a little bit of a spoiler in this region and picking up a game that I think a lot of people think that Leeds will win. But Leeds has Moody coming up next week. Can they take care of business today before that big matchup, a top 5 matchup there in Class 5A? So I'm really excited about that matchup. As far as top 10 matchups across the state, there's not a bunch of them. There's a few, but as of the ones locally, that's the one I'm really interested in.
Yeah, and some of those top 10 matchups, you got Tuscaloosa County, who we talked about yesterday. They've got in the top 10 there in 7A. They are at number 3, Hoover, coming up tonight. Muscle Shoals is at Decatur. You've got Pinson Valley. They are at Center Point. That's a big region game there in Class 6A. Charles Henderson at Eufaula, B.B. Comer at Thorsby, and Elba at Georgiana.
Yeah, the B.B. Comer-Thorsby game is really interesting because B.B. Comer's having a really, really strong end of the season so far. And Thorsby's looking really good. And this is a really interesting region matchup, just like we talked about with Valley Head moments ago in Class 1A. And so I'm really excited to see that one. Pinson Valley Center Point, also a pretty decent one as well. I know Center Point's not ranked, but they're getting both 6-1 on the year. Should be a really good matchup there for Pinson Valley. And then Elba, number 1 in Class 1A against Georgiana, who's only lost 1 game so far all year. They're also receiving votes just outside there of the top 10. But I'm looking forward to seeing the score of the Tuscaloosa County Hoover game. This has been a blowout here in recent years. I don't expect it to be the same this year as both teams come in the top 10.
Yeah, and so that's some notable games across the state of Alabama. Top 10 matchups. You'll hear Hoax Bluff and Ohatchee from the Creek Bank tonight. 6:30. We'll come on with the pregame show. 7 o'clock kickoff. But Hoax Bluff and Ohatchee, they're in 3A Region 6. We'll have a high school football scoreboard coming your way tonight following the Hoax Bluff game. But Hoax Bluff coming off 3 straight wins. We'll see if they can make it 4 tonight.
Yeah, this is a really interesting team to follow because, you didn't really know what this team would look like. This Hoax Bluff team would look like after the first 2 games of the season, but they've really turned things around and give a lot of credit to Coach Rob and the coaching staff over there. They've done a fantastic job coaching up this team.
Yep.
And at the same time, being able to game plan really well. They've come in with 3 great game plans over the last few weeks, and they'll see if they can keep the wins going and get another one there on the road. It makes it makes you think that if they played Geraldine today, I don't think 23-2 would be the score. They've improved since then, but give the team a lot of credit for bouncing back, not folding the towel after, going 1-2 to start the season off with those 3 wins. They've rattled off 3 straight. Look tonight to make it 4.
Yep. And so you'll hear that one right here on Fox Sports 102.9. And then again, all the scores coming your way on high school football scoreboard tonight following Hoax Bluff football. And again, you said you'll be at Alexandria, and then you'll stop by Ohatchee, right?
That's right. I'll be at the Creek Bank for that matchup with for Ohatchee and Hoax Bluff. So yeah, I'll be able to see you there. See the Eagles for the second time this year. I saw them on a Thursday night to begin the season against Southside. So getting another chance to see them, first chance to see the Leeds Greenway, first chance to see Alexandria, and first chance to see Ohatchee as well. So really looking forward to it.
We got a full night of high school football on the way for you. And so, again, enjoy some of that great high school football programming we have coming your way tonight. We'll grab a break here. Baseball postseason began today. We'll talk about it coming up next. Stick around here on WKXX Live, Fox Sports 102.9. It is Chase and Gerhard with you until 3 o'clock here on this Football Friday.
Home protection.
Welcome back in. It is WKXX Live. Jason Gerhard with you this afternoon. Glad you're joining us. And we're going to talk a little baseball now as the postseason has officially started. The wild card round. You got Cards, Phillies, Mets, Padres in the National League. And on the American League side, you got the Guardians and the Rays and the Blue Jays, Mariners there in the wild card round this weekend. And to talk some baseball with us, we welcome on our friend Mark Everett Kelly. Mark, how are you today?
How you guys doing? Thank you so much for having me on. Always great to talk postseason baseball.
Absolutely, and looking forward to talking with you. I mentioned the matchups there. Some really good best of three series coming up this weekend. What matchup really intrigues you that you're going to be keeping an eye on this weekend?
Well, the first thing is that
let's see.
Mark, we got you too. We'll see if we try to get Mark. See if we try to get him back on. He's a former researcher over at ESPN and other spots, and he's a baseball mind, baseball savant. He has just a wide knowledge of this game, especially in the postseason. He might not be in the best of moods because he's a Mets fan, but he's probably feeling pretty solid about his team. We'll see if we could get him on here in a heartbeat.
Yeah, we'll work on that, and you may just hang up, and we'll see if he'll call back, and we'll see if we can get him back on with us. But yeah, it should be great to talk baseball. Really good matchups today, and we already have one final as the Cleveland Guardians defeated Tampa Bay 2-1, and so Cleveland now leads that series 1-0. Again, these are all best of three in the wild card round. All right, I believe he's calling back here.
Yeah.
And we got you, Mark.
Yeah, hey guys, sorry about that bad connection.
No problem. So let's talk about these matchups this weekend.
Yeah, so here's the thing: Mets Padres. You have Darvish, 7-1 in his last 8 starts, 5-0 in his career against the New York Mets. It's a guy that's had their number. This guy's a pretty good postseason this year. Set a major league or career high with 16 wins. So he can set the tone for San Diego right off the bat. And the Mets with Scherzer, his last 3 home starts, the Mets have only scored a combined 2 runs in those starts. And you know from playing the Braves that if the Mets are going to struggle, they're going to struggle offensively, which they have. Another thing that you look at with the Cardinals, okay? The Cardinals, since July 27th, 42-24, which is the second best record in the major leagues over that time. And they have scored the second most runs over that time, 4.9 runs per game, only second to the Dodgers. So offensively, the Cardinals really give you a lot of fits. And it's for the Braves, to me, I would really worry about St. Louis. Number one, because of how they perform offensively, but also the Braves in the history of their postseason, they struggle a little bit about the Cardinals. If you remember back in 2018, they lost the series to St. Louis where they had a 2-1 series lead. They lost Game 4 because they couldn't hold on to a lead late. And then also, if you remember 2000, the only reason why the Mets made it to the World Series is because the Cardinals beat the Braves and struck them 3 straight. And that was with Rick Ankiel not being able to find a strike zone.
100%. Mark, last year you called it. You called the Braves run. I didn't see it. I didn't see it happening late in the season, but you had a pulse on it. Being the home of the Braves and fans being able to hear those games right here, what are some of the things that you're looking forward to and some of the things out there that Braves fans need to look out for as they watch that series play out, no matter who comes out of it?
The Braves, I think, if they play the Phillies, they have the Phillies number. The Phillies, to me, are the strongest against a team like the Mets. The Mets usually struggle against the Phillies, just like the Mets struggle at Atlanta. They just can't seem to win there, but yet they play well against them in Queens. But with the Braves, they have, I think, the best offense. When you consider Riley, Swanson, Olsen has done pretty well taking over for Freddie Freeman. They have not had Albies, but a lot of these guys that they brought up from the minor leagues have done extraordinarily well. And Acuna hasn't really even hit his stride yet. So imagine if he starts hitting what Atlanta will be. You look at Austin Riley last year, he had a few big moments in the postseason where he kind of, as Bill Parcells would say, he took off the Huggies, and he started to really perform and realize what postseason baseball is about. The only thing I would worry about with Atlanta is their starting pitching. Freed has struggled a little bit. Charlie Morton is, definitely has the experience, but he's a little bit older, and he might not, may falter a little bit because of that little wear and tear on his arm. And Ian Anderson and Kyle Wright, they've done pretty well, but again, there's a little inconsistency, and you don't know what you're going to get out of Strider. So that's where I would be most worried if I was a Braves fan. But offensively, and the fact that they're the champs, somebody's got to beat them. Until somebody beats them, they're the ones that need to be knocked off the throne. So I would give them the advantage in just about any series.
The Dodgers obviously have a bye this round, and they'll wait to take on in the divisional series. They're playing really good baseball right now. Do you see anyone being able to beat the Dodgers right now?
Well, you look at the Braves the last 2 years. In 2020, the Braves had them 3-1 before they wound up losing. And then they beat them last year. So I believe the Braves absolutely can play with the Dodgers. You saw the Mets play them pretty well in Queens, again, take 2 out of 3. And the Mets starting pitching, again, when they lost in Atlanta on Friday and Saturday, the two greatest pitchers that money can buy with DeGrom and Scherzer, they failed in winning the division. However, postseason is a little different dog. And the fact that you had Atlanta last year go in and win when they weren't figured to win, they only had 88 wins. So sometimes you can get hot as one of those teams that didn't win the division and roll that into a postseason championship. So that's what I would be aware of if I was the Dodgers or the Braves. The fact that maybe there'll be a little bit of a penalty for having time off that doesn't always benefit teams, and history has shown that a little bit.
For sure. In the American League, some interesting dynamics playing out. The long run by the Mariners, the long drought by the Mariners finally ends, and you have the Guardians back in this thing. The Yankees and Astros still sit up top. Number one, the wild card round. How do you see this one playing out? And then as far as when you add in the two teams that got the bye, the Yankees and Astros, where do you factor them into the equation being able to chase the championship?
Well, the Astros are kind of the opposite of the Cardinals, where if you look at the Astros since July 27th, the Astros have allowed only 186 runs, which is the fewest in the major leagues over that time period. They have great pitching, and I think that's their strength, where you look in the past, and they're probably their offense was more of their strength. But this year they have a tremendous amount of pitching that I think can really help dominate the American League hitters. And as we all know, pitching generally prevails in the postseason. The Yankees, every year, they seem to have a good team. Every year it seems like they might be a favorite. But there's something that they're missing that falls through. A lot of the hitters are more big boppers, Rizzo and Stanton. Even though Stanton's a pretty good postseason player, these guys can be pitched to. Power hitters generally can be pitched to in the postseason. And I think that's why the Yankees have struggled over the past couple of years, where prior, when they had the Posadas and the Jeters and the Paul O'Neills, they were a little bit more able to get those late rallies against some of the bullpen, which is what the Royals did really well when they won World Series, and what the Braves did really well last year as well against other teams' bullpen. Cleveland, they seem to something always seems to go wrong for Cleveland, and they generally tend to blow either a 2-0 lead or a 3-1 lead. They've done that a number of times. They did that in the World Series. They did that in the ALCS against Boston, I think back in 2007. They did that against Boston in 1999, where they blew a 2-0 lead. Same thing with the Yankees a couple of years ago. So even though Cleveland looks good, I don't trust them to close out a series. And to me, you've mentioned it yesterday, Gerhard, the Blue Jays and the Mariners. Blue Jays have those key moments in postseason. You mentioned, Edwin and Carnacian's home run against the Orioles because Buck Showalter didn't walk him with the base open. Was a key moment. Then the bat flip. There just seems to be a number of wonderful things that happened to the Blue Jays in the postseason, and the Mariners being in there for the first time since 2001. These are two very talented teams, but I like the Blue Jays with their young hitting, and a guy like Robbie Ray has got a little postseason experience, and same thing with Barrios. Those two guys can really help out, and they got some really good arms in the bullpen for Toronto.
should be fun as we start the baseball postseason there, and excited about some of these games.
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, I think you bring up a great point about the Blue Jays, and of course, you want to go back for old heads, go back all the way to Joe Carter knocking those home runs there as well. So yeah, the Blue Jays fun goes back a long time.
And that great World Series between them and Atlanta, which I'll never forget.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of people have some fond memories about those days and whatnot. If you were to predict as of right now the four teams that are coming out of the wild card round by the time we get here on Monday, who do you got?
Well, I have Tampa Bay beating Cleveland. I would have the Cardinals beating the Phillies. I have the Mets beating the Padres, and then I have the Blue Jays beating the Mariners. And then coming out of them, there I like the Braves in the National League. It's just hard to go against them because they have the best hitting, and I think their starting pitching and bullpen is good enough. And they take advantage of other teams' bullpens, and to me that's the biggest thing. They're clutch and they can score runs at big times. And I like the Astros coming out of the American League. Big deal here. I'm picking the two hottest teams in baseball since the middle of July, so I'm not really stepping out here.
Good stuff there. Mark Everett Kelly joining us, talking some baseball. Mark, really appreciate your time. We will get you back on again soon as, postseason's just getting started. But appreciate your time today.
Hey, God bless. Thank you so much for having me on, guys. Be good.
Thank you.
All right, Mark.
Mark Everett Kelly talking baseball with us here on WKXX Live, and setting up for what could be a fun postseason run, hopefully, by our Atlanta Braves.
Yeah, it was a great breakdown there by Mark, and I think that if you're a Braves fan, you come away a little bit encouraged, not only because you don't have to play in this round, which I think is good, number one, being able to get a little bit of rest, but then also be able to answer some questions, both in as it relates to your pitching, your starting pitching specifically, and then maybe get mentally ready for what you hope is a good offensive series as well.
Yep.
Get those bats involved as well. But it should be really fun. It should be a fun 3 days of baseball as far as the wild card round goes. And then when the top four seeds come to play, I like that as well.
Yeah, and so the Braves will play Tuesday. Don't know what time or who yet, but they will be in action Tuesday, and we'll have it for you right here on Fox Sports 102.9. We'll grab a break here. We'll come back and go around the SEC, get you ready for some college football tomorrow. Stick around. Hey, it's Chase here from WKXX Live. Have you missed any of the show lately? And some of the awesome We are back here on WKXX Live Friday afternoon. Chase and Gerhard with you. Talking some baseball with Mark Everett Kelly. We're going to talk some college football now. We'll go around the SEC, see what's going on, get you ready for the games tomorrow. First one, we'll go between the hedges. Is number 2 Georgia hosts the Auburn Tigers, and Georgia comes in as the 29.5-point favorite over the Tigers.
This is one of the games that we talked about it over the last couple of days, and we'll dive more into it coming up tomorrow on the college football kickoff show. This Auburn team coming into this game, in my opinion, really, really needs a bounce-back performance and at the same time be strong in the second half. Now, Georgia's going to be really, really good, but I think the second half box score, the second half drive chart, all the second half details and the data points in the last 2 quarters of the game will tell me a lot. We saw this with Arkansas. We heard Sam Pittman last week say we were terrible in the third quarter. What were we going to do? We're going to shut everything down in practice and make sure that we know how to get off to a better start in the third quarter. And then it showed last week against Alabama in a game that they lost, but they fixed one of the problems that they had. Can Auburn do the same thing? Even if they lose the game, can they look better in the second half because they haven't in the last 3 games?
Yeah, I think that's going to be big, and really just for the future of this team. How does Auburn, are they going to go out to a lead and lose? And like just seeing how the game plays out, I think is going to show us a lot about Auburn and really affect how things move forward. If this keeps happening where they go up 17-14 to nothing and that's all they score,
right? Yeah.
There's major issues. There already are issues, but I think that's going to show that this team is I don't want to say poorly coached, but some decision making is lacking,
and not being able to make those adjustments. And we heard and we saw from our friend Justin Hookinson, and go read it if you haven't read it yet. It's a great breakdown of what they call the middle eight, and being able to score in that last couple minutes of the second quarter and the first couple of the third.
Yeah.
That is an important stretch for any team and in any game, but especially for Auburn. The last 2 years, they've been borderline atrocious in that category, and they've allowed a whole lot of points. And seeing as to how, that's kind of been where Auburn's bugaboo's been, we'll see if they can correct that on Saturday.
Yeah, so Auburn and Georgia, that will be the 2:30 CBS game tomorrow afternoon. And again, we'll talk more in depth about that game coming up tomorrow on the College Kickoff Show tomorrow morning at 9. Alabama hosts Texas A&M. Folks have been waiting for this game for a long time.
They certainly have. All the hype, all the talking points and whatnot in the offseason about NIL and about boosters and whatnot. All that won't matter anymore, and it'll be up to the players to make the plays on Saturday. Bama comes in with a much better football team. Questions at starting quarterback for Texas A&M going into this matchup. Nick Saban, for the first time, lost against this assistant last year. I think that he's fired up personally. I think he would have been let's just take the offseason drama out of there. I think that he would have been fired up anyways after last year. And then you add on top of that, all the drama from last year. They want to move on. I know that they think that they have and can move on from all of the personal stuff. But once you do get into the game, I'm just really ready to see how it all plays out, with this team. But Bama does come in with a much, much better team, and the betting market is telling you so as a 3-touchdown favorite in this matchup.
Nick Saban talked this week about the offensive line, and that was a struggle last year. I mean, you can just be honest. The offensive line was at times just horrendous for Alabama. We saw that especially in the Iron Bowl and against Georgia. But I think he's seen some improvement.
Yeah, he certainly has, and he's challenged that group to make improvements. And some of the first place that you start to see that marked improvement is in the running game. And we've seen Jahmyr Gibbs have a really, really good game. We expect Jalen Milroe to play on Saturday. Does he, number one, have the confidence and the patience to both throw and run the football? I expect so, but Coach Saban, as always, he's not going to throw a party for the offensive line, but he does see a lot of improvement in that area.
I think that in the last game they showed signs of that. They showed signs of it, at times throughout the year. I just think your whole body of work is based on, consistency and performance. That's what defines success. So, that's what we got to keep working on with them. But I do think we're making progress, and I do think that this last game was probably the best that they've been all year.
Best they've been all year. The offensive line, according to Nick Saban, there as the Tide get ready to host the Aggies tomorrow. That is at 7 o'clock on CBS. Tennessee at LSU. I think this could be a really good matchup. Number 8 Tennessee, number 25 LSU. Can Tennessee's offense kind of keep chugging along like they have been?
I think so. I mean, this is a really, really good football team. I think that this is their first big test. Speaking of big tests, this is the first big test for Brian Kelly and his bunch as well. The first taste, I think, when Brian Kelly made the move from Notre Dame to the SEC, I think these are the kind of games. These are the kind of atmospheres. I think he wishes it was at night, but these are the kind of atmospheres that you need to be able to succeed in to keep your job at LSU. This is not about being second and third in the division. No. This is about beating the upper echelon teams in this conference at home, especially with the environment they create down there in Baton Rouge.
And Brian Kelly spoke on facing a guy like Hendon Hooker of Tennessee and just the up-tempo offense that they're going to see.
Yeah, for sure. And he also faced Hendon Hooker as the coach when he was at Notre Dame, when Hooker was at Virginia Tech.
His poise in the pocket, his patience, and I think the passing game, obviously, it was not I wouldn't say that there was a passing game associated with really what he was doing in Virginia Tech as much as it was a RPO and run game. This is a comprehensive passing game. So the maturity of a passer and quite frankly, I think the poise that he shows at the quarterback position. No doubt, all those little things help in terms of being more familiar with teams that want to play fast and play up tempo, spread the field. But they are different offenses. There's no doubt about that. Tempo will be a challenge. There's no doubt, and the matchups will be, what we'll have to look at each and every play. But I think we've got a pretty good sense of what to expect against a really good offense.
They are a very good offense that LSU is taking on tomorrow in Tennessee. Hendon Hooker has just fit so well into Josh Heupel's offense.
Yeah, and I think it's a blend of both. It's the blend of what Heupel is able to do with quarterbacks. It reminds me a little bit of Lincoln Riley. He can kind of adapt what he does to the quarterback's strengths. And at the same time, it's also Hendon Hooker. He's a very mature guy. He's an older guy. I think he's already written a children's book, and he's just mature. He's a very mature guy. He's got a good head on his shoulders. So he's able to take coaching and then fix his mistakes. We saw the transition from last year into this year, and we're starting to see it even more. So it's a really good synergy between Heupel and Hendon Hooker, and they'll have another big test there, undefeated, top 10 team, now going on the road there in Death Valley.
Also, tomorrow you'll see Arkansas at Mississippi State. Arkansas coming off that loss to Alabama, and Mississippi State with a big win over Texas A&M last week as they have moved into at number 23 in the AP poll. So that should be a good one there in Starkville.
Yeah, one of the things that Brian Kelly just talked about was about facing those up-tempo offenses. That's what Mississippi State runs. Well, Mississippi State ran it really well last week against Texas A&M. Can they continue that momentum? Can they keep that going? Meanwhile, we've said this about Arkansas. We said it in the Alabama game. Arkansas allows a little over 289 yards worth of passing offense per game. If Mississippi State is on the money in the passing game, this one could get ugly, especially if KJ Jefferson is not playing in this football game. So can Arkansas run the football, and can they keep up with Mississippi State? Meanwhile, for the Bulldogs, they're not resting on their laurels. They're going to continue to play their up-tempo style, but that Mississippi State passing offense mixed in with the horrific passing defense for Arkansas could spell trouble for the Razorbacks, even though the Razorbacks, in my opinion, are a really good football team.
Also, we'll see Missouri at Florida. Missouri has been so close the last couple of weeks. The loss at Auburn, the loss to Georgia last week. Is there any way they could they could pull out a win tomorrow against Florida.
I don't see it. I think the luck has probably run out on this team, especially a Florida team that they want to get back. They want to get back to what they feel is right with them after losing that game at Tennessee, a game that they thought that they should have won at Tennessee. Came back last week, did what they needed to do against Eastern Washington, but I see two emotional games from Missouri, both losses in those contests, and I see Florida continue to take care of business.
Also, we have Ole Miss at Vandy. Ole Miss a 17-point favorite in that one.
Yeah, and I think Ole Miss will continue their stride from what they took on last week, and maybe a bit of a first half hangover for Ole Miss, but I expect them to take care of business.
Still waiting to see if Will Levis will be starting tomorrow for Kentucky, but the South Carolina Gamecocks take on the Wildcats.
Yeah, he's everything to me in this one as far as just the matchup goes. He plays, I like them big. Even if he doesn't play, I still like Kentucky, but 6-point favorite, that one could go either way.
And that's our SEC lineup for tomorrow. And some good games. Looking forward to watching some SEC football on a Saturday. Be sure to join us tomorrow morning from 9 to 10 for the College Kickoff Show. We'll get you ready for a day of college football. We got to jump to a break, go into our final segment. We'll have our NFL picks, get you ready for an NFL Sunday. That's next here on WKXX Live.
Gregerson Cash Saver Home
announcement coming your way tonight. And we got to get into our NFL picks as we get ready to roll out this afternoon. And we got to check, though, how things are going with our picking.
Yeah, we had another week last week, and it's one of those situations where you went 10-5 last week, and I went 5-10. So basically the breakdown, we talked about it a little bit on Tuesday, recapping the deal, but we're one game away from each other overall. You are 32-27, and I am 33-26 overall. As far as our picks against the spread, you went 1-1-1. You got the victory with Atlanta plus 1.5, and you lost the Rams at plus 1.5, and then pushed with the Saints at plus 3. Meanwhile, I went 1-2, got it with San Fran on Monday night, but lost both the Jaguars and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who were favored in the matchup against the Chiefs. So on the season, you were 4-7 against the spread, 4-7-1, I should say, and I'm 6-6 right there against the spread going into Week 5.
Did you watch that Colts-Broncos game last night?
Oh, my gosh, I did not. I was at the gym, and it was one of those situations because now it's all on Amazon Prime. My gym doesn't have Amazon Prime, so I just kind of kept up with it on the lower board. But I saw a funny tweet that was like, I'm obviously a huge Cubs fan. It's like, I never would have thought that my Cubs would score more runs in the final game of the regular season, 15, than you would get from the winner of the game with Matt Ryan and Russell Wilson as their quarterbacks. It wasn't like some backups. It was, two guys that have been to Super Bowls.
It was not pretty. No. I'll put it that way. Overtime win for the Colts, 12-9 last night there in Denver. Well, let's get to picking as we get ready to roll out today.
All right, so we'll start with the Sunday morning game. We'll just count this in the afternoon, in the window slot there, with the Giants and Packers in this one. And the Packers are a favorite in the matchup. I will get you the number in just a bit, but I
think it's 8.
Yeah, the 8 right now. Yes, 8 right now in that matchup, as the Packers are the favorite in London.
I've liked the way the Giants have played. Daniel Jones was just made active today. I'm not sure how much he'll be able to move with that ankle injury. I'll take the Packers.
All right. I think I'll take the Packers as well, straight up in that one, and I'll think about it, the spread. Meanwhile, Falcons and Bucks. Bucks are a 10-point favorite at home against Atlanta.
I want to pick the Falcons, but I'll have to go with the Bucks.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Bucks as well. Brady doesn't lose 3 in a row, and I don't expect him to do it now. Meanwhile, the Detroit Lions at the New England Patriots still mums the word on Mac Jones, but they've signed 2 other quarterbacks, so it doesn't look like he will play.
I'm going to go with the Lions in this one.
Yeah, I think I'll go with the Lions in this one as well. Actually, you know what? I'm going to change that. I had Lions on my paper. I'm going to go with the Patriots. So they're going. I think Billy Zappi is the quarterback going into that one. It's just that game is in New England. I'll go with them there. Meanwhile, the Bills are 14-point favorite, 14 at home against the Steelers starting rookie quarterback Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, Vegas wouldn't make that number so large if they didn't know something. I'll go with the Bills.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on the Bills, especially being at home. The Chargers are a 2.5-point favorite in Cleveland against the Browns.
I'm going to go with the home team. Go with the Browns in this one.
I think I'm going to go with the Chargers in this one. I don't really hate that Browns pick, though. Next one up is the Bears and the Vikings. Vikings at home. They're a 7.5-point favorite against the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, I'll take the home Vikings.
Yeah, I think I'll take the Vikings to win the game there. Yeah, and that matchup seems a little juicy for me. The Seattle Seahawks going to New Orleans to face off against the Saints, and the Seahawks are an underdog. The Saints are a 5.5-point favorite.
Geno Smith's been playing good. I'm going to go with Seattle.
Yeah. I think I'll go with the Saints in this one. Geno has been playing really well, but I like the atmosphere they create down there in the old Superdome. Meanwhile, the Dolphins still without Tua Tagovailoa, still a 3.5-point favorite as they go to New York to face the Jets.
Yeah, I'm still going to go with the Dolphins. I think they can get it done.
This is actually the one I'll go the other way on. I think I'm going to go with the Jets in this matchup as the home dog. Meanwhile, the Tennessee Titans, another road favorite at Washington against the Commanders.
I'll take Tennessee.
Yeah, I think I'll take Tennessee as well. This is one of those where I was kind of going back and forth, but I'll roll with the Titans. Last one in the noon window, the Jacksonville Jaguars are at home against the Houston Texans. Jags, a 7-point favorite.
Texas hasn't won a game. They're not going to start Sunday.
They're not going to start Sunday as well. And for my fantasy team, I'll need Trevor Lawrence to have a good day in that one. Meanwhile, the San Francisco 49ers are in Carolina taking on the Panthers. 49ers a 6.5-point favorite.
Yeah, it seems to me like the Panthers just can't get anything going offensively. I got to go with the Niners.
Every week in the NFL, there's that what in the world happened there game. And I feel like this is going to be what in the world happened there. I'm going to go with the Panthers, Baker Mayfield and company, spring the upset because of football.
Right.
The Rams, LA Rams against the Dallas Cowboys. The Rams are a 5-point favorite at home.
I'm going to go with the Cowboys.
All right. Cowboys it is. I think I like the Rams in this one. They haven't looked great, but I like the Rams at home in this matchup. The number one team as far as power rankings, the Philadelphia Eagles, 5-point favorites in Arizona against the Cardinals.
Philadelphia's going to have to give me a reason not to pick them. I'll go with the Eagles.
This is a weird one for me. I'm going to go with the Cardinals in this one to win it straight out. I like the Eagles, but I don't think they're all the way there yet. Sunday night game, Bengals and Ravens. Ravens a 3.5-point favorite.
I'm going to go with the Bengals.
I was thinking about it. Ravens have blown 2 big leads. I'm just going to trust them one more time while they're at home. I'll go with the Ravens in that matchup. Last one, Monday Night Football, the Chiefs and the Raiders in Kansas City. Chiefs, a 7-point favorite.
Yeah, I'll go with Kansas City.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Kansas City as well. It's a big number in this one. As far as the games against the spread, I like the Panthers, obviously, to win outright. I like the Cards to win outright. And I like I'll go with the Ravens to win by more than 3.5.
I'll take the Lions, Browns, and Seahawks.
Lions, Browns, Seahawks. All right. I like it.
That is all the time we have for you on this Friday. We got to kick it over to the press box. We got to go get ready for some football. You'll hear Hoax Bluff and Ohatchee coming your way tonight, 6:30 for the countdown to kick off. 7 o'clock, we'll kick the thing off. And a scoreboard show coming up following the game. We'll have game night at 5:30. Lindy's college football report at 5. The press box is next. Have a great weekend. Enjoy this football. We'll be back with you on Monday.
Fox Sports